6:31. We'd like to welcome everyone out. We need to excuse BJ, he's out of town, and Kim is under the weather. So we'll go ahead and get started from there. We would ask Michael if he'd lead us in the pledge of allegiance.
Please stand. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I have the opportunity to say a prayer, so bear with me. Our dear Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for all the many blessings you've given to us and the opportunity we have to serve our family. Be with us tonight as we make decisions that will make the decisions that are best for our community and will benefit them the most. Please watch over those that are sick and afflicted in our area, and that they'll be watched over, and be with the first responders and the military. They'll be protected too. Please watch over us and guide us all of you, and then trust in. Amen. Okay, council. If there's no questions on the minutes, I would accept the motion to approve calendar items 4A, B, C, and D.
I'll make a motion.
Hey, hold on. Is there a building permit?
Yeah, they're back here. You don't have them?
I don't have it.
You should have them. Check underneath your binder. Are you looking?
Oh. They're normally in
They're
okay,
not in your right spot.
Okay. So
I'll make a motion that we approve consent calendar items A, B, C.
I'll second it.
moved and seconded that we approve calendar items 4A, B, C, and D. Jeff?
Aye.
Blake?
Aye.
Adam?
Aye.
3 ayes, 1 absent. Next, we have a public hearing, proposal grants. So normally we turn this over to BJ. I can do it, or you can do it.
If you'll just open the public hearing.
Okay, so I am going to open the public hearing, and
I'll start. My name is Chrissy Staten. I'm with the development company, or SIPTA. So we have been contracted by the city to write a community development block grant for a water system improvement project. This public hearing is to talk about that grant application. So the engineer is also here, Forrest Burn Associates. We all know Dave. So we will be putting in, with council approval tonight, a community development block grant application for $500,000 to fund a water system improvement project. That project will include a 16-inch transmission line from well number 4 to well number 5, a booster pump station and building with a backup generator and auto transfer switch at well number 5. These improvements are to correct the low pressure issues that you guys are having on the hill, making sure that everybody has the same pressure throughout the system, and that you guys have adequate firm capacity through the city. I realize that the city just finished a water project in 2019, and this is adding on to that project. So if we get $500,000 from block grant, the city has allocated $650,000 from their project to go towards this budget. The additional money will come either from USDA RD or from DEQ. The reason we don't have those firm down is because, quite honestly, we're waiting to see who's going to give us the better deal on money at this point. We know we can get a grant loan ratio from USDA RD, but signs are pointing that you might be able to get a really good principal forgiveness from DEQ. So we're going to keep our options open through the first quarter of 2022 calendar year. The schedule is as follows. A lot of the engineering has been done. It needs to be resubmitted to DEQ for approval. There's some more engineering that needs to be done. They'll start bidding as soon as we hear back on this grant, which will be March, April. We'll start bidding the portions that are designed and approved through DEQ. And by 2023, the end of 2023, this whole project will be wrapped up. Are there any questions for me? Oh, also, All residents of the city of Shelley, even low to moderate income residents, will benefit from this project. Tonight, I have brought the application handbook and the actual application that I'll be submitting to the state if anybody would like to review those. We will be accepting public comment for the next 15 days and will respond to that comment within 5 days. Now, are there any questions?
No? Anybody in the audience have any questions? Since it's a public hearing, you have the opportunity to ask. Okay, we'll go ahead. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No questions, anybody? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public hearing then. So, and
We need a motion.
we need a motion to go ahead and move forward, but do we need a motion?
Just to submit the grant application.
Okay, I was gonna say, do we need it for each entity that we're gonna try, or just for the grant?
No, just for
Okay.
CDBG.
All right, so I need a motion for the grant application.
I'll make a motion to go ahead and approve, to go for the grant for the water project.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and approve moving forward with the grant process to try and get a grant. All in favor? 3 in favor. 1 absent. Okay. Next on the agenda is Eric Peterson. I'm assuming you're gonna tell us how awesome our sewer system is.
I am. My name's Eric Peterson with RH Ford and Company. And what I show on the screen there is also in your hand at this moment. Right. One for you.
Thank you.
Just real quick, just so everybody knows, we hired this company to go through and check all of our sewer lines.
Yes.
So they have some kind of a
We have some
machine that goes
technology.
through. Yeah.
I'll restate what we've done and how the technology works. So RH Borden is a technology company that is in the collection system or sewer system management space. The technology that we use is relatively new. It uses sound, and these sound waves travel from manhole to manhole to determine the flowability of pipe. Okay, so if we're listening, we don't see what we hear. If we hear sound degradation, we're able to quantify the flowability of that particular section of pipe. It does it in a very rapid manner, and it's very efficient, both in time and in financial resources as well. So we were able to go through the system in a very quick manner. In less than a week's time, we were able to assess the entire collection system and determine the flowability of it. And this is, I need to give credit to Dave. He recommended that I come to Shelley and see what sort of resources we could bring to help you understand your collection system a little bit better. And so I want to give credit to Dave for at least a shout out to him to say he's right on. He understands the technology and can see the benefit of it. I want to display to you today how this worked in Shelley, Idaho. I want to just talk briefly about this infographic. The top big disc there, the 70 to 90%, we're using the device that you see up in the top corner called the SLRAT. The SLRAT is the tool that sends the sound waves down the pipes. The SLRAT is a sewer line rapid assessment tool, so aptly named. The reason we want to sweep a city through using this technology is to understand the pipes very quickly. Then we can focus what we find to cleaning efforts. And what happens, what we found is most pipes, to the range of 70 to 90% of the pipes are actually in good shape. So we're cleaning clean pipes. It's like cleaning clean dishes after every meal. We empty our cupboards and wash all of our dishes. Just the dirty dishes is all we need after our meal. So we send out the cleaning trucks and take care of those problem spots that are identified by the acoustics. And then from there we can assess, we can also determine from what's being pulled out of the pipes, the debris and such, we can then say we need to have some more information. We can drop in cameras, which is another layer of information where we actually do a video filming. Now, our firm focuses primarily on the SLRAT. We do have associations with companies that do the excavation and the cleaning and the camera work and all that kind of thing. But we're really focusing, this rapid, quick method down to where we need to go. If there are lingering problems, we would then get out the tractors and start digging up pipe and relaying things. Now, the idea is we use the light and fast to discover quickly what's going on. So I want to show you Shelley, Idaho. The tool gives us some scores, and I'm going to show you this right now. So this is our scores. These are the measurement totals. I'll kind of point here on this side. These are the measurement totals that we found. The scores come back as blocked, which means there's very little sound that comes through. And then we got poor lines, fair lines, and good lines. As you can see, the bulk of what we found is the high end is you've got a fairly good system. And that's common. You're not singled out as the best, but you certainly have a system that's very common because, as I said before, we find that most of the pipes that we're using are actually in pretty good shape. We clean it. The strategy now, without this technology, is to clean everything because we don't know. So as you can see, up here in this range, we've got quite a number of lines. We've got 14 now. It's hard to see in this map, and it may be easier to see on your handout, but there are some black lines here scattered around town, and those are the low flow lines. Those are the lines we really want to focus on. I think Justin is aware of those, and he's working towards that. One thing I do want to bring to you is it's kind of like a Christmas gift. Justin gave us a number. He said we have this many feet of pipe, and we went and did the assessment work. And we found out we had about, I'll put a number to it, $10,000 savings in the process of doing this than what we originally agreed upon. Well, that's no knock on Justin. I understand cities are it's a nebulous thing. Pipes are under the ground. We think we have this much, but anyway, what I'm saying is our budget was shaved in almost a third less than what we originally planned on, which is a great thing. I'm hopeful that that discussion can lead to further assessments in future years. But back to this map. So you can see it's color coded.
Real quick, how many feet of pipe do we have?
So I want to get to that.
Okay.
Right here we have 886,668, or excuse me,
Okay.
86,668 feet of pipe, which is divide that by 5,280. I don't remember off the top of my head, 15 miles of pipe or so. We estimate that if we were going to clean the entire system, top to bottom, front to back, at 45 cents a foot, which is a pretty reasonable rate, that would be a $39,000 cost to the city. The assessment, we focus on the scores that are 4 and lower, and we only need to clean about 23,000 feet of pipe. So we have 86, now we clean just this much. And we increase the rate to do the cleaning in that because it's kind of a bounce around kind of thing. We're not setting up a truck and cleaning a lot of pipe. So we up the price to that 60 cents a foot. That puts us about $13,000 into the cleaning activity. The assessment cost was 13, and the difference between the estimated to clean the pipes versus the cost savings is about $10,243. So we've seen, if we were to clean everything, it would cost this much. We needed to assess that's costing some, and we only need to clean this much. So we have a savings of about $10,000 left over in the end if we're managing into this new condition-based model. That is the story that we like to share with every city, is now we know where to go and clean. Now this map right here is something that I want to explore just a little bit further because it's interactive. This map, if it'll pull up, please hurry. Let's try it again. Oh, there we are. Okay, this is a GIS, a GIS map, and it's a global or a geo information system map. This map has a bunch of data on it, and you saw a piece of that data. It's kind of divided up into the map area, and then we have a pie chart showing a number of different things, and then we have these layers that we can turn on and off, and some filters that we can control visibility. I'm going to just do some really quick. I'm going to turn everything off. I'm going to go show you this SL route. So this is exactly the map that you have in your hands right here. It's like this. What the great thing is we can go in here and we can say, let's have the scores from 1 to 10. let's go less than a score of 5. And then so I want you to look at this pie chart right there down at the bottom. That's all the pipes. And it shows you, we got 175 good, which is 56%. We've got 32% of the pipes that are in the fair condition. And then we've got the blocked at 4.5 and the poor at 7.1%. Now Justin has access to this particular file, and I've showed him how to manipulate and navigate. Now we're going to turn off the layers. So this now it filtered out all the areas that are in good shape, and so now this is the focus area. This is the scores of 4 and less. And we haven't changed the number of poor pipes. We should have 22 segments of poor pipe. We had 14 in the low blocked region, and we have 18 fair. And that's a lot different than, as far as the number of pipes you need to clean, than what you see right here. So this map is interactive and helps us understand the quality of the system, and you guys are doing great. I also want to show you one other interesting piece of data. We also did manhole inspections while we were out and about. And I think I wanted to click on our lid condition. And we'll turn off the... So these are all the locations of the lids of the manholes. And we score them good, fair, poor as well. And I can see that right away, all your lids are in great shape. There's probably no real issue there. I wanted to look at, maybe it's the color condition I was thinking. I see so many of these, I get a little confused. Maybe it's the structural condition. It's got some. What I want to show you is we have some scores that come with this. There we go. So we've got a few different materials in riser. So we inventoried the riser materials that came out of this. We have brick. We have one that's brick. We have a few that are HDPE, which is a plastic liner, and then we have, most of them are concrete. The riser is the area of the manhole right near below the lid. Now let's look at the structural conditions. Oops, not get too far away. Let's reload that. Okay. Let's turn these off. Shelf and trough. Maybe there's the one I want. So the shelf and trough. Now, I will warn you, we're going to look at a couple pictures and look down a manhole. They're not gory, they're just a little, they're not upsetting, but I just want to show you what the data is that we found. So we click on this manhole right here. It gives us all these attributes that we have, but we also have a photo attached to it. And we look down at the bottom of the manhole. Now that's a surcharging manhole, meaning that needs some attention. And so we have this dashboard built with all these photographs attached to it. We only photograph the fair and the poor. We don't photograph things that are good, because good doesn't need any attention. So we were able to quantify all of this and attach this data to this particular, what we call a dashboard. And that allows Justin to be able to go sort through things and find things to do that need to be done immediately right now. So are there any questions about what we did and how we went about it?
So back to, I know you explained this at your last meeting, and I was
Sure.
in attendance, but I wasn't paying attention because I was sitting there. When you talk about the quality, like the blocked ones, are we talking about a blockage, or is it that its capacity's full, or
That's a very
is
good
it
question.
blockage? I mean, what are we talking about here?
What we're talking about is we're talking about an acoustic score, which means that the sound didn't travel well down there. It was a very low score. In fact, it's so low that there wasn't a very good registration at all. So we call that block. It can be a number of different things. One of the things that we find commonly is a pipe that's shaped like a big smile, if you will, in the ground. They call that a belly.
Right.
What happens is the water fills up in the bottom of it, and it still floats.
Right.
It's like a big long siphon or inverted.
So it's been like that for a long time.
It's been like that for a long time.
infrastructure.
Because, yeah, something settled and the ground shifted and you patched the road a few times, but what's happening is the pipe is sagging in the middle. That just gives you an indication that there's a problem in that location and it needs to be at least looked at and understood. So what happens with and it's often a belly, I'll be honest. What happens is it's cleaned and there's no debris or there's little debris and it still flows. And so that's the question. It's like, so water's still moving down it, but how is it if it's blocked? Well, it's because it's got that belly that blocks the sound from traveling through that particular segment of pipe. Now, it could be other things. It could be rocks and boulders and however, a stick gets shoved down there, the kids with a piece of rebar dropping it down a manhole, those vent holes and things like that, and that snags up debris and things like that. It could be a number of different things, but what it means mostly is it ought to be attended to quickly.
Right.
So that your risk, in the end, this whole thing is about lowering risk. And so
Right.
those particular pipes get after it.
So my next question is, which pipes can we tell that may not have tops on them? They've been degraded because of the
Oh, you mean
gases.
so the
Rotted away.
H2S gases has eroded that away. This particular device is about flowability. So I'll speak to that and then I'll come back to your question.
Okay.
So if you lived in an area like I do in my home, we have really heavy clay soil. And the potential for a concrete pipe to actually degrade and fall in on itself and eventually over time wash away is real. If that tube, if you will, in the dirt is still flowing with water, it's going to give you a good score. It doesn't give you condition of pipe. What we would hope is over time is that you would register, maybe there's a chunk or a piece that has fallen in, that would actually change the score, the acoustic score. And when you do the cleaning, you may find heavier chunks of concrete, and that's an indication now is the time to drop in the camera and take a look at it. Because a pipe just doesn't disappear overnight.
Right.
It happens over time. Chunks and pieces are falling apart. In fact, we have a client down in the state of Utah that has that very problem. In fact, they're so sensitive to it that they dare not clean some segments because they will blow apart their pipe.
Right.
So the hope is that we do this regularly enough, which we recommend on an annual basis, to be able to understand the health of the system over time. It's certainly nice to begin the project and to understand it. It's more meaningful when we have that annual checkup, if you will.
Right.
It's like going to the doctor. You want an annual checkup. This is the same thing with an annual checkup with your collection system.
So you figure that out when you clean it.
Yes. So if you have a low score, if you got that chunk of pipe, you're pulling out that debris, you're seeing that chunk of concrete. Well, that's probably a piece of, and it would probably indicate, you see a piece of that pipe come out. But we need to do some more study
Camera
around it,
on it,
and do some more things like that. So.
Right, that makes sense.
So the hope is, in the end, we've seen great success in year-over-year application of this technology to help systems save water for cleaning, because you're only cleaning about 10% of your system, and we also save time and money. We can go through, it took us less than a week to do the assessment work for Justin and his crew to clean the whole system, as I understand. Was it a 3-year rotation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years.
So every 3 years you're getting through the system, as opposed to, once a year you're getting through that special tenth of the system or quarter of the system, as opposed to, waiting those 3-year period of time where those risks can raise in those areas you're not cleaning in that next 2 years.
Right.
So the hope is that we can see a regular cadence coming and really see some progress made in the health of the system and keep it healthy at a lower cost.
So is there any significant degradation in any of the manholes along the road? These roads
So
that you found?
I flipped. You see me flipping through these. We didn't notice anything significant. I'll refer back to this photograph right here. Most of the manholes in the walls and that. If there were spots that we saw falling in fact, I'm gonna bounce back to. I thought there was a riser condition or two that we could identify. Let's see. There's that one right there. Well, no, I know what that one is because we looked at it already once. It's a brick or a concrete riser. So this is the metal ring for the collar, if you will, where the manhole sits on. We had some creative construction, that's what we like to call it, where we're trying to shim up that manhole to get it level with the road.
Right.
So we're hoping that was done in the 50s, right?
There was no timestamp on this on the stones that we put in, but what it says.
We did that with this spring.
This spring.
Mason, we had some extra block up here.
Smashed up some bricks.
Working up your masonry skills.
This just identifies what it is. I'm not saying this is a risk. I don't think Justin would think it would be. It's just something to be aware of and say, that $1 million, I'm gonna take a look at it a little more frequently just to see how things are going. But I'm guessing that things are fine. It's just an unusual circumstance as opposed to every other manhole that we have in the city. So you now have an inventory of these things, and 6 months from now you can nudge Justin, how's that manhole going? And you know exactly what you're talking about.
So is that one on the map here so we know?
It's
on
not
the
identified
dashboard.
specifically on that.
But I was wondering if it was in the Kelly edition up there. So.
It's right here in the middle of this
Okay.
town. In
I
fact,
was
it's
gonna
probably
say, it's
right
right in the
outside
middle
the
of
door.
town.
I don't
Probably
know
out
exactly
here.
where it is. It looks like it's pretty close to where we are.
Right off 91, yeah.
Yeah, and I do want to reiterate, Justin does have a dashboard or a link to this. This is just basically a website you can go into, and I've invited him to share that with you if you're interested. And nudge Justin, say send me a link, and then you can get in there and play around. You can turn these layers on and off and see what we found. And again, you can jump in and look at any of these assets and find out all kinds of different stuff about it. So, and those that are bearing for in those particular attributes do have photographs attached to them. So now you have an inventory ready to go. Any further questions?
No, just a comment. You know, we started this sewer study a long time ago. How long ago?
2008.
That's what I thought.
2008. Wow.
Yeah, I didn't want to say 2008 until I asked Dave. Anyway, we started in 2008. Well, our crew was supposed to camera the whole city. Well, we just don't have manpower to do that. So,
It's hard to get through all.
so this has been a long process. So it's nice to see that you did it in a week.
Yeah.
Right.
So technology is great when it comes to
Technology is great. It doesn't remove the use of cleaning and camera work. It just reduces the amount of application that we need to make for that. I mean, we still need to clean. We still need to camera areas that are demonstrating risk. So, but it narrows it from an entire system just a little bit. So.
There's a couple other advantages that this process has. So this process is a screening type process. But in order for us to finish the study, we have to have some kind of screening process in order to identify the areas that we want to go and ask for money for.
Yeah.
And so what this allows us to do is, instead of spending 75 cents to $1 a foot, and by the way, I noticed you have 45 cents a foot for cleaning, but around here, the going rate right now is really 75 cents a foot.
Yeah, well, we're
Just
extra economical.
But all that means is that your estimate of this $10,000 savings is really closer to $40,000. So, that just shows there's more value here. But what this also allows us to do is now we can finish up our study and get it submitted, and we can include the cost of figuring out what's wrong with the black things in our request for funds. Prior to this, we didn't have any kind of screening process to know to ask for funds. And if you just ask for money with no reason, you don't get it, right? So what this allows us to do is we can go back, so next year, we talked to Chrissy about doing our grant applications, because we only do one a year. So next year, when we get the study finished and approved, we'll be going back for money to do these kinds of things. And we will include the cleaning and the videoing in the request for funds from the funding agencies so that we know how to fix these kinds of problems. So this is really an excellent tool for you. It also is excellent in that you now have kind of a GIS system, the data for a GIS system set up with all your pipes and most, as far as we know, all your manholes that you can incorporate into the county GIS system that Justin wishes to take that on.
Good.
So, very grateful to be able to serve Shelley and help you, and we see this as a relationship that can go forward with a lot of veracity and some really good things.
Well, to be honest with you, I was a little skeptical when you said you could do it in a week. I kept thinking that's no way, so you guys got it done.
Yeah, kudos.
I was impressed.
Yeah. Well, it's about a minute and a half between manholes. It's actually, the real time is actually getting to the manhole to manhole.
Yeah.
The actual setup is pretty quick. So anyway, we're super excited, and we will, I'll be in touch with Justin. I would recommend an annual assessment to help understand the system. And I know it was a stretch budget-wise, but again, I'm grateful to say we shaved a third of the dollars off that just based on the size of the system. So I'm hopeful that going forward we have resources to be able to do this again and again to help you stay in front of the issues and again, this is a risk management tool, and it also gives you great study information as well. So for grant writing and such, that's a new wrinkle for us. We haven't pursued that particularly, but it's a nice thing to have. So thank you again for your time.
All right. Hey,
Thank you.
So Dave, in order to complete this for the study to be completed, we have to clean this then, right?
No,
These black
no,
areas?
what I'm suggesting is this is the information that is adequate for me to complete the study. And then what I will do is I'll take this information and in the study, we will recommend
these areas be
that
cleaned.
you spend a certain amount of money cleaning. And we will recommend that, areas that have bellies get replaced and, dug up and replaced. Areas where you have, roots or whatever, they get removed. Areas where you have rocks just get cleaned, right? So the study will allow us to go chase money to do the things that we need to do. It's kind of this is a new concept in terms of figuring out how to screen your system so that we can chase money. I mean, if you were to go in and video all of your system and say, okay, here's all the problems that are blocked, then we could go and ask for money for that. This is just simply saying we're blocked without having all of that.
Right.
But it will be important to video, all of the lines that we identify as having some blockage for just the reasons you were asking about, and that is we really don't know what the cause of the blockages are. But what we do know is that certain conditions have long-lasting effects. When you have a belly that is always full, you do get what we call anaerobic conditions, and you do get hydrogen sulfide off-gassing and erosion, right?
But do you get that on a poly pipe?
No, polypipes are totally.
So we can identify what the poly pipes are as opposed to the concrete.
That's correct.
Pay our attention more so toward that. But we can see that from the manholes, right?
Right.
Well, generally you can. Sometimes you've got sections of polypipe that are fixed or replaced, but other sections of concrete pipe that haven't been replaced.
You'll see it when you TV those lines.
But when we TV those lines. So I met with DEQ yesterday, and we were just kind of going through things that are eligible for including in the request for funds for construction and for study money.
Mm-hmm.
And videotaping has generally been something that they encourage you to do and sometimes allow you to put into a request for funds associated with studies. However, they are now going to allow us to do that associated with construction, right? So this will allow us to identify what we think a project is and include the video in that request.
Good.
We'll probably also be able to include having Eric come back and run his system again after we correct it to make sure that we don't have ongoing issues. But as far as DEQ is concerned, all of these kinds of efforts are eligible.
Awesome. Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you very much.
Shelley stated that we started in
We were having
2000.
kids.
8?
Great.
We were just children then. Wow. Thank you. Moving right along.
Yeah. Okay, next on the agenda is superintendent. Are you covering for him? Would you come up here so the mic will pick you up? This is the alternative high school or
Yeah.
school.
So Superintendent Williams asked me to cover for him. I'm Mike Messick. I am Director of Special Education for Shelley School District, and I am also the administrator. The program that we're talking about is called Shelley Work-Based Academy. So I guess give you a brief history and what we're trying to do, and then where we're at right now. Is that kind of what you're after?
Yeah.
Okay. So last spring, I went to the school board. Actually, I was on slated to go to the school board the previous spring, and then we shut down with COVID. But this is a area that we have had a need in our district for an awful long time, which is a setting for students that the high school, and I would like to eventually expand to middle school, just does not work for. So what we have been doing up to this point, if a student isn't able to function in the high school, we've been putting them on a bus and taking them to Blackfoot to Independence High School. A couple of problems with that. Number one, Independence really wasn't too keen on taking our kids. As a special ed director, getting a special needs kid into that program was almost impossible to do, and usually they send them back to us within 2 or 3 months. And we also lose those kids. They're out of our role. We don't know what happens to them. We don't know if they graduate. We don't know what's going on. So there's been some difficulties with that. So went to the school board last spring, identified the need, asked if I could pursue that. They gave me the okay to do so. I spent some time putting a team together, went and visited multiple alternative settings and took a look at what the state of Idaho had to offer in those circumstances. Overall, the ones that I were impressed with were doing something different than regular school. The ones that I wasn't very impressed with were basically school with a different schedule, where maybe they do 1 class or 2 classes at a time, but they're doing the exact same thing. So as we explored that, what we decided to take a look heavily at was mastery-based learning. About 6 years ago, the state of Idaho wrote into code that mastery-based learning is a route to graduation, and it is different from credit-based, which is what most high schools use, where there's a seat time requirement, basically 45 odd hours to be able to earn a credit, and you have to be there, attendance is mandatory, all those sorts of things. Well, those are the hang-ups for a lot of these kids. Kids can't get to school, various circumstances, tardies, those sorts of things, end up in principal's office, and it kind of snowballs from that. So we're looking to eliminate those roadblocks a little bit. Mastery-based learning is the approach that we think will offer the best solution to that. So we developed a program that is based on 3 things. The one is the mastery-based learning, and I can explain that more if you have questions about that. The second is we wanted to provide a work-based experience for all the students there. I am working with vocational rehab for all my students that have disabilities. They have a program called a work-based experience, which allows a student to be hired by the school district, and then they can either work for the school district or they can be subbed out to a job somewhere in the community. We pay the salary, we pay the workman's comp, all of that, and then Go Rehab reimburses us at 100% for that. The other route has been a little bit more problematic, and that is getting students without disabilities work opportunities. My kids who are 16 and 17, I'm having more success with. My kids who are 14 and 15, we're struggling with. One of the areas that I'm finding is that one of the biggest hurdles for them is driver's license. Just either don't have the monetary means to be able to take driver's education, or family time dynamics, all that sort of thing is causing some problems for that. But we are able to give credit towards graduation for that work experience. And then the third thing is life skills that we're trying to teach. So we've partnered with a trauma-based institution in Idaho Falls to come in and give some training, and then also some basic life skills on job preparation, interviews, how do I put together a resume, those sorts of things. So those are the 3 basic criteria that we're trying to establish with it. I honestly thought we would have between 7 and 10 kids. I have 35 on the books right now. I have 3 waiting. I'm adding about 2 to 3 per week. Firth has come, the superintendent for Firth has come and asked if they could participate. My goal was to have 30 kids by the end of the year, and you can see that we exceeded that at this point. So there is obviously a need for it out there. The people who are bringing the students in are the students, which gives you an idea of the students are buying into it. It's not all been smooth. That meant growth. I have myself, and I'm also still trying to be the director of special education. I've got an English teacher and a special ed teacher right now. The anticipation was to grow over time with these kids. We've been forced to grow instantaneously. So with the mastery-based learning, there's no seat time requirement. We messed around with kids that could handle it. We're going to stay all day, and then we're going to bring others that couldn't handle a full day in shifts. And now we're too big for even that. So we're going to next week probably be moving to a block setting where we'll have half of the kids in the morning, half the kids in the afternoon, and then the idea would be that their work experience would take place at the time frame when they're not in school. So that's the goal. We probably got, I'd say, 10 to 12 kids working right now. Obviously, that's the goal is to get all of those kids working at that point. So nutshell, that's what we're doing.
So what happens to the ones right now, like if you go to a half-a-day school, basically, because of the number of kids?
Mm-hmm.
What happens to the kids that aren't in school if they don't have a job? They're just out running around,
they wouldn't be in school. They wouldn't be in school at that time, the same as a kid could get out at 3 o'clock and not be in school there. And to be honest with you, most of my kids would not be in school at all, period, right now, if we didn't have this program.
Yeah. So I've had a couple of people talk to me concerns, so I'm just passing them on so you can answer them. That we're moving the kindergarten over here.
Mm-hmm.
So the kindergarten's going to be in the same school as the high school, or alternative high school.
Mm-hmm.
Have we got a way to keep them separated?
So yes, we do. We're going. Well, originally we were going to have 2 rooms behind. I don't know how familiar you are with the building, but there's the gymnasium. And there's 2 rooms back behind, and that was the intent to put them there. We've grown larger than that at this point. So now we're talking about putting a partition down there by where the boardroom is. So if you come in, there's the office, and then put a partition there, and that wing will be where my students are, and then there will be the kindergarten in that other wing at that point. As far as those kids interacting with them, my experience as a special education director, some of my toughest students, tough by meaning struggling with school, where the most success I found with them is when I put them with a younger kid too. They get to be smart for the first time in their lives. They get to have somebody look up to them for the first time in their lives, and I've seen some really cool relationships come out of that. So I also did look at a couple of alternative schools that do have kindergarten in there, and they said it was a positive experience.
So do you have like a parallel administration, because you obviously have a set of standards for these students that other students don't have to follow,
Mm-hmm.
and strict attendance and things like that?
Correct.
So who oversees that? You or?
Me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty challenging then to keep all that.
It has been. But it's been fun. I've had more fun in education in the last 3 months than probably the last 3 years.
But is the success rate better than it would be? It's obviously better than it would be if they were in a traditional school.
Yeah. And we won't know until, like I said, we're not even through the first semester yet. Mm-hmm. So we'll be able to collect some data and kind of get an idea of the success rate at that point in time. The program is designed to accelerate because all these kids are behind, to basically provide them the opportunity to show and display knowledge without having to sit in a class for X amount of hours to be able to show that knowledge.
Right. So why did a lot of them return from independence? Is it because of just distance, different dynamics of student personalities? I mean, why? You said a lot. You lose a lot when they went down there.
Oh, I would say overall, if you look at success of most alternative programs, their graduation rates are lower. But yeah, distance, being able to go. If you get in trouble, then it's a block time frame, and oftentimes the discipline would be, okay, you're out of this block time frame, and now you've got to come back into the new block. and guess what? You've got to start all over, even though maybe you have done some of that work before. Right. The master base doesn't play that game. So if a kid, for example, life falls apart, they go to Boise, they're there for 3 months, and then come back. I have that happens all the time, and then they're in a real tough spot because they can't get the credits.
Right.
But now I'm just going to come back and say, this is where you were, start.
Oh, that's cool. Okay.
All right. Well, like I say, I think I've had a few parents, their concerns was the kindergarten being with the high school, but I can see that it could be a positive as long as there's enough supervision to make sure.
So we are qualified as an alternative school, which reimburses at a higher, so 12 students to 1 is what we get. So right now I have the ability to go get 2 more teachers, but that doesn't turn into the next fiscal year. So next year I should have at least 2 more teachers there. And I was able to hire an aide just this past week, and I would imagine we'd be able to add an aide as students come in. So supervision will resolve itself. Again, we didn't realize that we would have this many students so quickly, which is positive. I'm very happy with it. And again, kids are coming to school. I had a kid the other day. His mom sent in, he's sick. And about 15 minutes later, I got a call from the kid, said, I just stayed up too late last night. I lied to my mother. I'm sorry, I'm coming to school. I guarantee you wouldn't have done that last year. So it is positive. It's not perfect by any means. We have a lot to learn and a lot to process and adjust to, but I think we're on the foundation of really changing some kids' lives.
So what about getting the kids jobs? Have you reached out to the community? I
have reached out to the community. I probably should stop saying alternative school when I go into the door and just say work-based academy. I've had mixed success with it. Yeah. However, I think in this job market, especially if I can get kids to be able to drive or transport or whatever, I have little doubt that we can find positions. But things that I'm finding that we wouldn't even think about are hanging these kids up. Right? So I had a kid on his own interview for a job, get a job, interviewed for the job, secured the job. But when he was filling out the paperwork, he got frustrated and stopped because he didn't know what direct deposit was. And then once I explained what direct deposit was, he didn't have a bank account. And then when he didn't have a bank account, I took him to the bank to get him a bank account. He didn't have a guardian to be able to get a bank account. So little things that we just take for granted, some of these kids don't have access to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there, I know I'm asking too many questions probably, but is there ways to work around that?
Yes,
somehow?
Yeah. So yeah, we brainstormed some different things, and even the lady at the bank was very kind at trying to help us, even calling corporate to see if we could get around it. But yeah, I think there's some workarounds that we can do with different family members, and things that are not maybe outside of the scope, but providing an opportunity and say, if you want to change guardianship, here's the resources to do that. I can't really help you with that, but providing that for that student.
All right.
Cool.
Anybody got any other questions?
No, it sounds.
That sounds like a great program.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, that sounds cool.
I hope it's
Something we need.
and something we need. So
Looks like it's something we need when it goes instantly to what you had to spend for a whole
I was
year.
floored, and I was also floored. I thought I would be boy heavy, behavior heavy, and I'm not. I'm about 50-50 boy girl, and there's various reasons why these kids are here. So, family environment, illness, disability. There's a great variety of students there. It's really quite awesome. Good kids. They're good kids.
okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the
Thanks,
opportunity.
Mike.
Next on the agenda, John, and I'm probably going to say this name wrong. Rigalot. Okay. And you're wanting an easement to where the old American Legion property was.
Correct.
Okay, so the American Legion
Has that field, right?
they have a field that
Right.
is kind of in between
The house.
Apartments and that.
Is
Yeah,
the stuff on the
Cedars
south
on
side
the
of the road
west.
there?
yeah, it's the park's on one side, you got cedars behind it, and a house in front of it. Is that right?
Right, that's correct. My sister lives on Maple behind it, and then I'm not sure the name of the people in the White House behind. It's behind.
You each have a copy of the access easement that was granted to American Legion when they had that property.
Do we have a
It's
drawing
behind
or
you
anything?
now.
Gave it to us.
So the access easement was granted exclusively to American Legion being in post 93 only. So that's why where he's purchased the property, he doesn't have that access easement because this was an exclusive ingress egress.
And so the American Legion got this given to them, they purchased it?
It was given to them.
Okay. And then their plans at one time were to build a building?
Yeah, correct.
I'm guessing on part of this.
Yeah, that's what they. Yeah, that's what they told me. But then they said they never had the funds to build, and they don't. Their memberships don't pay a fee, so they end up getting rid of it.
So you want an easement from?
I'm just looking
the
away.
park?
Yeah, I'm looking for a way in.
Isn't this where?
One problem
Yeah.
is
The
if
park,
you
and
intend
this
to
is
build
the
a house
lot
back
that he's
there,
looking
Uh-huh.
our ordinance in the city, and I think you talked to Jasmine when you first came in about the easement, and I wasn't clear exactly what he was doing, but our ordinance in regards to building a house there, you have to have
Because
frontage
even
access.
American Legion.
So you have to own some
Yeah, they were
property
looking
going
at
out
trying to
onto
do
that.
So how does?
So you don't have any property that you own that goes to a public right of way, do you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so
That
if
was the
you're,
problem we talked about with the American Legion.
Right,
on this.
they wanted
came
to do
in
a
and wanted
building.
To do a building. And we
Right.
said, well, you have an easement, but it's not a public road. It doesn't have frontage.
How many feet wide is it? The easement, 20 feet?
My question is, and maybe I don't know.
17 feet.
When my sister built her house, there's a road right across the street that goes on Maple that goes down the alley thing. That they built about 28 years ago. Her understanding from the contractor was that there was a road that's supposed to go the same opposite way along her building. I mean, her side of her house on Maple, but there's not. I don't know if that's true or not. That was a lot of years ago.
Was it an alley or was it a road?
There's a gravel road on the other side of her where the guy's building 4 houses on that lot.
Over here.
Is it an alley?
South side, right?
Yeah, I was just wondering it because she thought when her contract told her she should have the same thing across hers when they built that, but they never did. They just put grass there, and then all of a sudden it's just.
She lives right on the corner.
She lives on Maple.
The one that goes from, okay, so when it goes along Byron behind Brian Moore goes by with this grass and then we ended up putting in the gravel. That's north of Maple. Okay. There's kind of the same problem that was to the south of you where the
Right.
alley was, but they ended up going in and making it into gravel. It was really an alley.
Right.
In the pure one.
So at some point that alley went north, but it was vacated when that plan was all.
I don't think it was vacated.
I think it belonged to the Cedars.
I think it just ended up being planted in grass like
Right.
Heather did.
Yeah, and that's what I'm wondering. Why couldn't
Well, but it's
I
part
just
of the
want to.
ownership of the Cedars.
Here.
Is it?
Oh, it doesn't show alley on your map?
No,
No, there's no alley.
there's no alley.
there's no alley and it goes.
It's all in the
across back.
ownership of Cedars. So
Yeah.
at some point it was swallowed up into the ownership of the Cedar Apartments.
Does it
And they
on
were
the south side of Maple? Can you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it got
And
swallowed.
stops halfway through the street where the Cedar begins and that ownership. So back in the 70s, 76 when that was built,
On that side.
that
So
was incorporated into that ownership. Because that's now one
Because
ownership.
it literally touches their property line
Right.
when you look at the parcel.
So
Yeah,
this
if you look
piece is
at it.
literally landlocked.
Yeah, and to me, it kind of seems like, I don't know. I mean, I could put stuff on it, but I just kind of thought it would be better for the city if it was getting paid tax dollars off it instead of being landlocked and just sitting there looking like crap. Because nobody takes care of it. I mean, it hasn't been mowed or anything. I was just hoping for a way to figure something else out.
So how?
To make ordinance, he can have a private driveway, but he has to own the property to get there. He has to own that private driveway, has to be at least 30 feet.
And
To
this
meet
here,
ordinance, he'd actually have to have that deeded to him.
So the easement's only 17 feet.
it's only 17 feet,
On this,
yeah.
this easement's no good anymore anyway,
Right.
because the American Legion.
Right,
owns
but the
house.
lady that owns the other 14 feet that the American Legion's tried to get, but kind of made them mad, because see, they had a contract saying that the guy that gave them that back part, they signed the paper giving them the deed for the 14 feet next to her fence, but they never had it notarized. So when they sold the house to these people, it wasn't a legal document because it wasn't notarized. She said if the city will give me the 17 feet, she would sell me the 14 feet to make my easement. But she wasn't going to give it to the American Legions because the American Legions told her she needed to give it to them and they weren't going to pay her for it. And I offered to pay for it and she said, well, if I can get the city to do the 17, she would do me the 14.
So, so the 17 feet she's gonna sell you 17 feet?
She's going to sell me the 14 feet.
And it is from,
It's on the side of the fence towards the park. She's already got a fence that was already, because there's a gate right there. And
it's gotta be right.
yeah, the 14 feet's on the park side of the fence. But like I told her, there was really no reason to buy it yet until I know if the city's going to do it. If the city don't do it, don't do me no good anyway.
But Sandy, wouldn't the city have to actually deed the property, not just an easement?
To meet our ordinance.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would pay for it.
He really only needs 16 feet if she's
Right.
giving him 14,
Right.
because he only needs the 30.
Right,
Yeah,
and I would pay for the park. I don't have a problem with that. Or donate a swing set to the park. I don't care.
What's your plan of that?
I just want to build a house back there. Yeah.
So where's this other 14 feet you're getting from? Where's that coming from?
That's from the neighbor next door.
What's her name? Catherine?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we see, yeah.
I don't remember who owned it before, but
You have to have you go look at it and see, because I don't know, is that lot back there big enough to put a house on? It meet all the
well, it's almost
requirements that we need.
it's
And the
3/4 of an
problem's
acre.
gonna be
I mean, it's
is
almost full
egress.
acre.
Oh, it is almost a full acre?
Yeah, it's 3/4 of an acre. I mean,
It says 0.28 acres.
Yes.
is that what
That's
the?
not big enough to build on.
Quarter.
Wait, yes, it is.
Quarter.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is.
Yeah, it is.
Bigger than my lot in Idle Falls.
Yeah.
0.28 is what it says.
So he can build a home on that.
Yeah.
Part of the thing is if you're going to move forward with trying to sell it to him, I can't remember off my head the procedure, because to sell property to someone, there is a certain procedure you have to go through.
Yeah,
Yeah, don't you have to go through a bidding process on that?
we do because it's public.
Yeah, when we vacated or we sold some property, vacated some, we actually had to put up for bid, but it was only the adjacent property owners that benefited, so it was okay to do that. Because there's really nothing to vacate there, it's actually selling off a piece of city land.
Right.
And they have to do like a fair market
Value.
assessment, and
Yeah.
then go, I can't remember if it's a hearing or a bid, that's what I have to look.
Right.
Because we talked to
BJ
we
was
talked to
on
American Legion about this and said
Yeah.
the only way this would work is if we sold or gave them property enough to build.
Right.
To have the road that goes in there. And then it's still gonna be a problem with Chief Adams. It's got one way in.
It's not that far, it doesn't matter. It won't matter with fire department.
He won't care.
It's not that far, it's only 242 feet. It's not
Yeah,
gonna be
well,
an
if I
issue.
have to, I'll make a roundabout driveway.
So the only issue is the city's willingness to sell this
Yeah.
property.
All right, well, so it's obvious we've gotta do some research
Okay.
on this, because
We gotta find out what.
we've gotta
we
find
can
out
do.
really the
What?
whole story. I mean, about, since it runs along the side of the park, if we sell off part of the park where it's public
I understand.
funds that pay for the park.
And the thing about it is if it was right through the park, it would probably be a big deal to me, like, you know what I'm, saying?
Yeah.
It's onto the side. The park's really over the, swing set, and everything's over to the, I mean, not swing set. Everything's over to the way over on the side, and if I put in a blacktop driveway, it wouldn't look that bad. But
It would have to be blacktop.
right, I understand, and I leave it to you guys. I just wanted to come tonight and see what my possibilities were.
So,
Just have to look at,
we'd have to look at it, cause
Right.
if she sells 14 feet, it almost looks like she's gotta tear one of her buildings down.
Does it? Because they
Unless that's a camper or something that looked like a
It
building.
looks like a building to me too.
I think it's a small shed she's got right there, right on the fence.
yeah.
It's not, I don't think it's permanent, I think it's a shed.
I thought that they understood, and maybe I'm wrong, and the lawyer that was selling it for them thought the 14-foot was actually the start of the fence out towards the park. But I don't know. That's why
It looks like it's about 10.5 feet.
10.5 feet.
No, about maybe 11 feet to that shed from the property line.
Okay. So she's probably only going to sell me from that property line over. I don't think they want to move anything.
Well, how wide does their driveway have to be? 30 feet?
30.
Yeah, that's pretty far. We're gonna run into trees.
Yeah, you're gonna be into the trees going that far.
Could we move them? I mean, because there's nothing else really there. The park's is still a ways away. Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
See, that's why I came. I didn't know. I just wanted to see what the possibilities were, because I didn't know that they gave that other part to the apartments back in the 70s.
You've got just 3 trees.
Sandy, does the ordinance require the driveway to be 30 feet wide or just the property to be 30 feet? 30 feet of frontage.
No, 30, for a private drive, 30 feet, so emergency vehicles
Vehicles
have
can get
access.
in and out of it.
So it has to have pavement of 30 feet wide.
Yes. Yeah, because then once after you get that access, you have to have a finished driveway to the garage, so paved, concrete, whatever.
Right.
Yeah, you'd have to remove at least 4 trees
Yeah.
in the park.
I'll let you look at it, and you can look at the park, and then let me know.
Well, and that's the thing, we'll have, let
I
us do
understand.
some research.
Yeah, I
on it.
understand. I just wanted to come and see if I had a chance.
Well, okay, so this is off the chapter. They can't access it through the Cedar Park apartment?
I don't think so. I think the American Legion looked at that. And they-
Is that a private road into their park?
Once
So
you
once
get
you
into
get to their
the
property.
apartments, it's the Cedar property.
Because that, I mean, okay, because that was my thing, is because I didn't know if I was thinking that was a private road, because there's like 5 feet from there, it comes around that one apartment, and it goes right into that property.
Yeah.
But I wasn't sure if that was private. If that was a private road, that's theirs. They're not going to allow that property.
No.
And I tried to look at accessing through my sister's, but you guys' requirements of 30 feet would take her whole driveway, and then it wouldn't give her. Yeah, I don't think they would do that either. I mean, she's willing to let me go through it all the time, but then I couldn't do it. So
Okay,
I appreciate it.
let us take a look at it and kind of figure out.
Okay, and I think you got my number.
That's what I was just gonna ask you for your number. Didn't have it in there unless Jasmine did write it somewhere. Do you have it?
Yeah, it's 208
I know how it is.
241
I mean, was it part of
4739.
there?
241-4739. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I'll do some
Even if
research and
it's,
let you know what I find too.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Sandy, you've been here longer than the rest of us. How did this property get landlocked?
I don't know. That was before even my time.
Okay.
Long time ago. Yeah, I don't know how it did.
Well, we try not to do that now, so I just was wondering.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's trying to do something with it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay. All right, let us do some research and then we'll get with you. Let's see, recognized citizens from the floor. Anybody got any questions, comments? Welcome everyone. Anybody? Okay. old council, new council business license. We got a whole tribe of them.
We do.
Yeah, it's that time of year, so you
That-
have on
that
the,
time of year.
behind your memo, you have a list, so she's just made a list instead of I didn't do each one individually in the memo. So you have the top of the list, she has a specialized licenses, those are beer and wine, sales, carry out only,
Don't
and
we
the
have
second-hand goods. Those need to be made exclusive,
Right. individuals?
yeah, your motions. The rest of them, the new one you can do, there's only one new one, so you can do it separate. The renewals, you can just say all of them on the list, and then I will attach a copy of this list with the minutes. The general licenses, the two that are there, those are also new. Split Rock LLC and True North Youth Services. Those are both down at 326 North State. Those are new licenses also.
Okay, so the True North Youth Services, it says it's short-term youth shelter.
Yes,
Do they have a
and
license?
Mr. Ferguson's here, he might could answer some questions.
Yeah, please.
Hello, my name is Frank Christensen. What can I tell you?
Okay, so the question that I've got is, do you have to be licensed through the state?
Yes, but you come first. So in order for us to, so that's what we're in the process. Right now we're in the process of putting together all the policies and procedures, making sure the building is compliant with the state licensing, and then also that we're good to go with the city. So we're probably between here and January 1st from submitting that that application for state licensing, and then it usually takes between a month to 3 months after that to be actually up and running.
Okay, so do they limit how many beds you have, or how, I mean, I guess, what can you tell us about it, I guess?
So the when you go for licensing, it will be that's dictated within the policies and programs that we create. This facility is only set up, we're only looking to be a 10-bed facility. What governs that is the actual square footage of the room. So, but the staffing and what we're putting together for our programs, it's really only practical to do a 10-bed there, and which would actually be a pretty great program.
Okay, so then another question for you then is, are you gonna have a separate set of males and females, and, I mean, statewide, I don't know what the state rules are, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah, there's not, there's no issue there. That would be the state coming in and blessing off saying, yeah, basically when it comes to that, we have to have adequate gender specified bathrooms and everything, and the facility is actually set up really great for that. So it's pretty much turnkey if we can get everything looking good, basically. So everything's, we've got to make sure our fire suppression system is still working good. We've got some people coming in to take a look at that. But the actual facility itself really does convert quite well over to the respite care facilities.
Okay, so now what about the apartments in the back? That's not part of what you're doing?
We have ambitions for it to be part of it. What our program is doing is filling this kind of a necessary gap that was created with the Family First Prevention Act in 2018. Mm-hmm. What that did is that created an atmosphere where group homes are not being funded anymore. And that's actually, so I used to be the activities director for the Idaho Youth Ranch at their campus there in Rupert. And as a treatment center, we saw that a lot. We saw kids coming in, and basically the nature of the industry, if they can keep the kids there, well, they keep money there. And what that did is a lot of kids that just needed a home kind of fell into the cracks where they were sucked up by these treatment centers and institutionalized, if you will, unnecessarily. Mm-hmm. So this facility is not that. We don't do treatment. The element of treatment that we do is just assessment. So if a kid comes into the system and for whatever reason they aren't immediately placed back with the family member, then our short-term facility will just give them an adequate environment that they can be assessed outside of the clutches of a treatment center, where we can say, hey, this is a great kid for foster, or holy crap, yeah, he needs some psychiatric level treatment. And it's just that, so it's around 30 days to at most 45 days is what we're looking for their actual stay. Just enough time that they can get through what they call a, oh no, I forget the terminology, the honeymoon phase, that's what they call it. So, what was the question? I'm going on a tangent.
Well, you've done a good job of answering that. So,
Okay.
so one more question. What's the age group? What's the ages?
Usually kids under 8 it's very easy to automatically place them. So our ages will be dictated by the state, but the odds are we won't see any kids under 10. That's what we're really gearing our policies and procedures is 10 to 17. And we have it split up in different rooms so that they're that age, because some of those ages don't blend well together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my experience working with the Idaho Youth Ranch.
Is that the motivation behind this for you? Is just because you saw that and you saw that need, or?
Yes. So it's kind of been a long time coming in setting this up, and we fell into this facility that it was just perfect for that. And so we kind of put together a crack team to spearhead this, and we're kind of excited about it.
Okay. Well, it sounds like a good program.
I like it.
If everything.
Oh, to answer your question on the units in the back. So part of this also has that element where there's now federal funding to help work these kids who kind of age out of the system. Well, where do they go? Usually that's where you lose them and they fall into errant behavior. So the plan is to, once we get up and running, that's kind of a phase B or C, is to turn those into independent living for the young adults, so we can mentor them, make sure they're getting their driver's license and a lot of the stuff that Mike was talking about. In fact, I'll have to meet with him because we're circling each other and I didn't realize it. But so that's the plan. As of right now, it's a great opportunity for us to fund the renovation on that property, because I don't know if you know, but it's in pretty rough shape. So so I have two businesses. One is that Airbnb element that we're hoping that gets phased out when the other one comes in.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I'd accept a motion to approve, do the liquor licenses first and then just work down.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and approve the specialized licenses, the Hard Times 2, Food Plaza, and Scenes Enterprises.
I'll second it.
Okay, so Hard Times 2 is for business license for beer and wine carry out. Food Plaza is for beer and wine carry out, and Scenes Enterprises is for secondhand goods. So it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? 3 in favor. Okay.
I'll make a motion that we approve the other business licenses, both new and renewals, as stated.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the other business licenses that are new or renewal as of state. All in favor? 3 in favor. Now we need the general license. We didn't do the general license. And that's what we've just been talking about.
We need to do that separately.
Yes.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept the general license.
I second that.
Okay, so moved, seconded, that we go ahead and approve the general licenses as stated. All in favor? Three in favor. Okay, all right. Great, thank you. Thanks for coming and explaining that.
Yeah,
So we
thank
knew
you.
what was going on. So, I'm sorry that I'm standing up, but my back's shot. Sandy and myself, you know, I'm just a little older than her, but we both have to stand up once in a while. So,
Backs are old.
okay, next on the agenda, Christmas gifts for the employees and volunteers.
Okay, each year, we have the tradition that you typically, give a $35 gift card to the regular employees, and to Rollins, just can't talk here. $35 gift card to Rollins for all employees, and then we usually purchase some type of a food type gift, cookies, nuts, something like that from Sam's. We usually spend around $15 to $20 a person for the volunteer committees, like the tree committee, P&Z, urban renewal, the police reserves, we do, and the 2 attorneys, I think is what we did in the past. So I just wondered if you wanted to continue on with that.
I think we
Yeah.
should. So, but that's up to you guys.
Yeah, I think so.
So I'll go ahead and make a motion that we continue to the tradition of providing gift card from Rollins for all employees, as well as the purchase of food type gifts from Sam's for around $15 to $20 for volunteer committees.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and approve gift cards and for the employees and then for the volunteers some type of a Christmas gift. All in favor? Three in favor. Thank you. Next on the agenda, consider hiring your public works employee, Justin.
So we've been advertising for about 2 weeks now. John Meekum, if you guys remember him, he worked for us for about 4 years. He would like to come back. So he worked for us for about 4 years. He
Then
left
he
to
went
go
to
do some
Bateman?
construction. Pardon?
Then you go over to Bateman?
He went to Bateman's, and then he went to Knife River, and now he would like to come back to the city. So had a real good conversation with him last week. I think he's grown up. I think he's matured, and I think he's ready to come back and plan on being here for a while. So.
Okay.
Because you're just such a good boss.
You know, I am. What can I say?
I don't know if you know John.
What
Hey,
can
John,
I say? Jordy, you said
His wife worked here for a little bit too, and Christy.
Platform, Kaden.
yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that's what we were talking about, and then I'm like, huh, and I ran into him at Home Depot. I wondered why he was being so nice.
How would you bring him back, like at the low end?
I'd like to bring him in at a level 8. So when he left, he was at a level 6. I'd like to bring him back in at a level 8, which would almost be like he didn't leave and he got his step up. Reason being is he's been here for 4 years. He's had the training. He knows our wastewater collection system, our drinking water system. He's a good equipment operator, so he comes with a lot of assets that I think would help the city.
Yeah.
And where he's got the training, it's like I've told you guys in the past, it's a 4 or 5 year training by the time we go through all of our seasons and we make the rounds. So he comes with a lot of knowledge of our systems and where we're at. So I think for that reason, I'd like to bring him in at level 8, if I could.
Okay. And we're replacing Wade.
Right.
Because Wade
Right.
moved on. So
I talked to him the other day. He seemed pretty excited what he was doing.
So all right.
I think that's a good idea.
I'm okay with it if you get, any more questions or anything?
I'm good.
Go late.
I like it. I'll make a motion that we approve the hiring that Justin is considered. John
Meekum.
John Meekum. I'm sorry, forgot to write it down.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we go ahead and approve Justin hiring John Meekum and bring him in at a level 8. All right.
One thing I always like to ask you before you vote, just for clarification for the minutes. So at a level 8, he's on a 2-year eligibility to rotate, for eligible increase. Do you want him to remain on that where he's just coming back, or do you want him to, Justin to review him in 1 year period to see if he can move up? So typically if we bring him in entry, it's 6 months. If we bring him in higher than that, it's usually a year, but where, just like Maureen, she came in and it's a 2-year rotation, but you gave me permission to look at it in a year to see if she could move up the line.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah, just
So
for
at a year?
Let's do a year.
Okay.
You good with that, Justin?
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you, guys.
So, okay,
I'll see it.
all in favor? 3 in favor. Okay. I guess we need to just decide for this family's first medical leave,
Yes.
like a policy or,
Well, and this is my fault that it got this far. I thought since COVID was still an issue, that the Family First Medical Leave Act carried on. And as long as somebody hadn't used their 80 hours, they were still eligible to use that, whether it be for quarantining, caring for family members that are sick, or they actually had COVID. So I had Corinne go back and put together a little thing of who used it last year, and then I've got 5 people who have used it this year after the expiration date. However, again, like I told Lake, I sometimes have throw in my face, which I do now, because I did not know it expired. I told them they qualified for it. We need to set up a protocol to handle it in the future. I would humbly ask that you let these people have it as I told them.
can we take it out of your vacation?
Well, it might be close to that.
I disagree with the mayor on that. I think it's good. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and then it's not the full 80 hours. I've got one person at 32 hours, another person at 32 to quarantine. I've got one at 40 quarantined. I've got one gone because he was sick with COVID for 40, and then I've got one caring for children for 40. Now on that particular one, the rules on that one was if you took time off to care for a family member or child, you only got paid 70% of your wage. What we did in this case is the person that had to do that, we just took that remaining 30% and moved it into PL. We used their PL for it, so they got a full paycheck.
So we don't have any conditions on this at all then?
Hmm?
We have no conditions on this at all for them to obtain this?
Right
Right now, no. In fact, I talked to, it was Lake.
Yeah, we were
Lake
talking
said
about it.
their
So in our
business-
office, they came out to us and told us, so it was the same. And some of us that have been working the whole time during COVID have had a little heartburn over that, in the fact that we didn't see it in our office in 2020, like once, but we've seen it on almost every new hire we've had, and a few other people that have been in the office the whole time, all of a sudden they're gone for 10 days.
So you don't.
Because that's the policy. The policy is if you're exposed, you got to go get tested, and if you get tested positive, you have to quarantine for 10 days and get a clean test. That's the policy that our company has done. And when it was the act, they covered it. If it's not the act, they don't cover it.
So you have your employees, they have to use their personal leave. So what if they don't have personal leave?
So like I'm done with mine. I have 2 sick days that we get a year, and then you get your vacation time, as it were, PL. And if you haven't used, then you don't get paid.
Okay.
I even had somebody come in today. Somebody came in today because they went for surgery, and she didn't have any time because she's a year into the company, and she was like, "Well, you just take it unpaid, right?" And I'm like, "Well, maybe for you that works, but these single moms that work up front, they can't do that. So what do? And our policy is not going to change. It comes down from what it is. But ours is what do we want to have it happen for these guys? Because Justin got exposed and didn't get sick, but others did. Some do, some don't. What's going to happen?
My concern is, I have people that have children that are trying to save up some of their personal leave to use for vacation, and when their kids are sick. Sometimes they come in when they're a little bit sick, and these days it's a little concerning. But I always ask them, do you feel like you've got a fever? Stuff like that. My concern is by saying you don't get to use that at all anymore, you have to use your PL, that they will come in sick, or they won't say if they've been exposed, because then they may have to quarantine. That's my big thing.
The problem is the false positives that are being run on these tests.
Yeah, there's so many.
I mean, there's more of those than there's not.
Or
But-
like in our case, a few of our people have gotten it. They really were sick for a day and a half, and then they had to stay home for 7 more days because they can't get a clean. You can't get a test. You can't even test until after the third day, and you can't get back until you get a clean test.
Right.
And you're gonna have a bad test if you have any kind of.
Kim suggested if somebody is told to quarantine by a doctor, that they would have to bring a note saying how long they have to quarantine, because sometimes it's 5 days, sometimes 7, sometimes 10, you never know. And then she suggested if someone's sick, stay home. If you feel better in 4 days, come back. If you don't, be off 5 or 6 days, then come back when you feel better. And so, but my main thing is, do they, under any circumstances, are they using their personal leave? Are we not offering any other kind of emergency leave? That's the protocol I need.
So we don't have a policy for that.
Not for COVID. People have to use their personal leave.
Yeah, so we got to decide.
We got to come up with a policy.
Is it stop now, or do we continue on
with whoever has their 80 hours? Right.
Well, I have a hard time with it just for the fact that if you've had the vaccine and you've had 2 shots, then they came out and said you need 3. Now they just came out tonight or this afternoon and said you need a 4th one probably. So where does this end?
I didn't hear the 4th
Well,
one.
just like the site.
I heard the 3rd one, but I didn't hear the 4th one.
My friend was saying that. Is it my friend? Okay, somebody went out there. No, it was Sean Likington. Matt, his son worked out the site. He got COVID. They sent him home. He was off for 2 weeks. He came back. One of his coworkers he was around tested positive. Matt got sent home again for another 2 weeks. He came back. Another coworker had it. He got sent back again.
That's the site.
And he's standing there working, and he goes like that. His supervisor came out and said, "I heard you cough. You need to go home for 2 weeks." He said in 3 months he had hardly worked.
Well, that's the site because they don't have to work.
Yeah, and they pay him for it. So.
Well, we don't have a fund. We don't have a fund to cover their costs, right? So we got to come up with a policy, and we got to come up with whatever the policy comes up with, we got to come up with a way to get it covered. Whether it's
I like that Adam's ideas. I don't like the hard fast rule.
Yeah.
This is all bogus. We don't know what we're dealing with. We really don't. There's too many false positives going on. I mean, that's a fact. So sending someone home for 10 days,
right?
And they recover in 2 days. They should be able to come back. I mean, as long as you're not symptomatic.
Well, I have a hard time because I know people that were exposed by their sisters, brothers, wives, cousins, something that they were around, and they had a wedding and they went to it anyway. And I'm like, so I walk through Walmart. Did I just get exposed? I don't know.
My wife had it, and she has the antibodies. She had her blood drawn, so it showed that she had it. I've never had it.
Same way with
and they live in the same house.
So.
I think what they told me when I had it originally, I kept saying, I need to get back to work. I got budget. I need to get back. And he says, if you can be without a fever, without any help, without taking Tylenol or anything, without a fever for 24 hours, you're good to go back. I couldn't get that because go away, then come back, go away, come back. But I would feel good. I would feel good about that if we said, okay, you guys need to monitor. If you have a fever, you need to stay home. You can't come back till you're fever free without assistance for 24 hours. And you'd have to use PL. Some will be back in 2 days, some 4,
Unless you have a doctor. If a doctor makes you quarantine, you have to quarantine.
Well, it sounds like we need to put something together. It's almost like we need to continue the policy at least till the end of the year, so we can get a policy put together that.
And I think if you have a doctor's, if you have a doctor's order, then it's different.
But the tough thing is every doctor is given a different. I mean, one will say you got to stay for 5 days, and the next one is 10 days, and so there's no rhyme or reason.
My doctor told me 14 days when I left the hospital, and I went, no, I'm not. And then he says, well, you can do it 7 days from Sunday. And then I got home on a Thursday. Monday morning, the Department of Health called me and said, you're off quarantine now. And I said, good, because I have a work meeting tomorrow night. So it's different.
Well, because the public health is different than what your doctor might say or what
Yeah.
the CDC might say. They're close, but they're not quite. And that's what Jeff's talking about. Is that it's just hard to understand what you're supposed to do.
I just think we base it on symptoms.
Okay, but
Because
right.
once you get vaccinated, you're protected.
Yeah.
That's where everybody's supposed to laugh.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing how many people got it after vaccination.
So for right
My
now,
brother died from it.
are we okay giving the people I told fell under this their time without having them making them use personal leave? Okay, thank you. So for right now, till we can set up a policy, if maybe I can make some calls to other cities and that, are we good to continue this through the end of the year for those who haven't used it if they become exposed or come down with it?
I think we should.
What do you do at Cox's Honey? You guys just don't get it?
No, we had somebody come in with it and we all got it. It's not a big deal.
It's not a big
I'm
deal.
just
There you
kidding.
go.
That's
Bee-
right.
bee
Don't you
stings.
know that honey fixes all that?
Fixes all that.
50
It's just been
bee
how
stings.
you administer it, right?
That's right.
I don't know.
Your hot toddy.
Everything's that way.
We need to come up with a policy.
I know. I
Do
think we
have
should
enough,
continue to.
Do we have
the end of
enough
the year.
somewhere inside of one of the budgets, inside one of the lines inside the budget to cover the cost of paying the employees if we were to carry it like we are now?
Well, it doesn't, okay, so if they're here or not, it's been budgeted to pay them as if they're here
Exactly.
the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's not really a big expense to pay them if they're gone, we're just short manpower.
So it probably should be a memo that goes out that says, hey, this is the policy till the end of the year, until we can come up with a different one. So that everybody's on the same page.
But we gotta
Because we
have,
don't want the cops going to the city guys taking advantage, the public works taking advantage and the cops being mad and everybody kind of at each other's throats because this person got to use it and this person might not get to use it, those kind of things. So we just need to make it fair and equitable across.
well, we do, but we've gotta come up with,
Yeah, we're gonna have to
some
come up with a
rules.
policy and a rule on it. The rule is, I think that if you have a fever, you stay home.
I think it's just
And
gonna be
also,
based on symptoms.
Yeah. Fever is one of the biggest ones.
Symptomatic or not.
That's right.
Well, and I think as department heads, if we know that person's really sick and they're at work, we have the ability to
Yes,
send
send
them
I agree.
home.
I agree with that.
Because it should be that way.
So if they're quarantined, do we have a policy that they have to stay at their house?
And that's my thing, and I don't know what we need to do for quarantine, if there's any kind of thing you want me to do with that right now. Do they need a doctor's note? Can they just say, hey, what should I do? This person had it, how do you want us to do that?
Is our insurance still paying for tests?
Or
Still
is it-
covering the cost of tests?
I don't know for sure.
Well,
Yeah, you
okay,
get a test. You can
so-
get all kinds of tests. Just depends on which one you want to trust.
Yeah.
But it's a matter of, is it still covering it? I know that most of them are still
insurance-
covering it.
Our insurance is, because they cover it, they covered mine, but it has to be through a doctor's note.
Right, so you gotta go to a doctor and get tested. So I think you throw that in there. If you think
So-
you had it, you need to go get a test and a note so that
You
says
mean
you're clear.
if they're quarantined, they need to go get tested? And a note if they need to
So
stay
they can come back, or if they need
Okay.
to stay.
well,
Okay.
okay, so I get the opportunity to go to the golf courses quite a bit, but not the golf. And they've had a record year this year
Oh.
because of all the quarantine people.
They have.
So somewhere you gotta say, wait a minute, if you're quarantined, you're home. You're not out at the golf course or whatever.
Unless you're wearing a mask.
When I was working there,
You just
It was
stirred
very
the
clear
pot
that-
today. You
that
just
when
go,
you-
just like
any
this. His
facility
arm is
where there
sore.
was a-
I know.
That's right, there's one
Yeah.
thing over there.
Okay, so wait a minute, listen to this. Everybody listen to Dave here. Okay.
Now that is, I never.
Oh,
I've
never
never
heard
done
that.
Hey,
We
hey,
should.
hey,
That's on the
hey.
public record, Dave.
I want
No
Reader's
kidding.
Digest.
I'm just saying, when I got the COVID and I got quarantined, the doctor was, very, very clear that I was not allowed to go anywhere where there were people. I couldn't go to a gas station, I couldn't go to a convenience store, I couldn't go to a drive-through window, I could not go to a walk-around store. I had to be quarantined.
Did you go elk hunting?
I could go elk hunting
'Cause he's
as
by
long
himself.
as I didn't stop for gas and I didn't stop for lunch and I didn't stop to use a bathroom anywhere. I mean, it was like,
Now, wait a minute, and if you got an elk, you couldn't have somebody come up and help you get it,
I
right?
couldn't, right? She actually did, she did say that, is I can't ask for help and stuff, so.
I wanna know if you really felt good enough that you could go elk hunting.
On day 1, I thought I did. On day 0.5, 1.5, no.
Just
So,
go
but
get,
anyway.
just go to Cal Ranch, get some warmer, you're fine.
Yeah, but, but anyway,
Is that part of our policy too?
That's not gonna be part of the
Do not write that in the
Do
policy.
not write that in the policy. Oh.
well, yeah, but I wasn't allowed to have a buddy there.
Okay, my thing is, I'm good with it, but I feel like if we're gonna pay them to be quarantined, they need to be quarantined, not out doing whatever they wanna do, cause we're still paying them if we're doing that. That's my thinking.
And it's good thinking.
Okay, so.
How you gonna know if they're staying home?
Lock it in the basement.
Well, all you gotta do is sit at ping their phone, I don't know if they're home or not.
So, my gosh, he's so good.
Don't you have any ankle bracelets or anything?
Yeah,
So-
Rod, you got any ankle bracelets?
I'm sure I could come up with.
Oh, it's getting deep in here.
No
Quick.
kidding.
I'm getting there, Facebook.
Alright, so we don't know what the policy is, but we've gotta come up with a policy
Yeah.
before we put it out there. So we'll work on that.
So we'll
So
work on
we'll
the
go
policy
as status quo, I guess.
as we have been through the end of the year.
Yes,
Okay.
to the end of the year.
Okay,
I mean, come up
And we'll have a policy by the end of the year.
okay, I'll call their city and see what they're doing.
Alright. Any information on North Main County Park?
No, we are gonna set up, I talked to John, and I think next week we're gonna meet with the commissioners. And iron that out, so I'll get with.
Are we meeting with the commissioners here next week? Yeah, you are.
He's setting up.
Yeah,
with them.
I mean, we're gonna set
You
up
wanna get yours?
we'll probably set up time to meet in their chambers, and I'll just let everybody know when it is, and then you guys
Well,
wanna
we
come.
can't come.
Well,
It's a
two
public,
can go.
two public meetings,
Two can
only
go.
two can go.
Alright, so which one do you guys wanna go?
Jeff can go, cause he wants to talk to him about,
Or what?
Yeah, I go again.
he's got some issues he needs to talk to him about.
Yeah.
And Adam,
got
you're over
issues.
the,
We got half.
Well,
Just got
issues,
exposed
yeah.
last time. I gotta go back.
Fix it.
so it probably, I guess,
Pick those two and go.
we'll make more progress, I think, if Adam's covering the park and Jeff's covering.
His
Band-Aid.
his Band-Aid stuff he needs to take care of.
Yeah.
So he exposed.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, council reports, Sandy?
Okay, a couple things, just to let you know, Heidi Riddoff and Karen Searle will be retiring from the library. They're having an open house on this Friday on the 29th from 12 to 2 p.m. If any of you'd like to attend that.
Are they getting any of those chocolate cookies from the school?
Cause he really likes those chocolate cookies from the
What
school.
day was that again?
The Friday.
29th, Friday
Friday,
29th, 12 to 2 p.m.
We're at.
It's
The
a
library.
The library, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I need to know, so Sadie Elijah called me today from the First Medical Center. Usually they come up and do flu shots each year. I know we're a little bit later this year. Do we still want to set that up? Just whoever wants to come get the flu shots, they'll be here all at once one morning.
Do we need a flu shot since COVID's here?
Yes.
They still say.
I
you
think I
will.
got mine, but I don't think my family did.
Still need a flu shot there.
I haven't got mine yet, so.
And a few others we're gonna give you too.
And I remember.
Can we call her and tell her what shots to bring for him? A couple.
I already told her what she could and could not bring.
When are you wanting?
You know what? I told her I would call and let her know after tonight and we could set up a time. I mean, is there a specific time you guys want?
Justin, did your crew come over last year and get them?
They did, yeah.
Okay, so.
I'd like to see us do it, but I mean,
Yeah,
you know.
So maybe if I set something up for next week?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody good for next week?
You
And
guys
I'll-
good for next week?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the week.
the end
Or
of the week?
closer to, yeah.
The end of this week?
Next week.
Oh,
For next week for
There's
it?
nothing.
I'll
This
make sure my
week's already
family
in it,
knows.
dude. It's halfway through the week.
I'll call
We're
her and
done.
see what I
Tuesday
can
is
set.
not halfway.
I know, Wednesday, Thursday.
I'll
Yes.
drag my wife and children in.
Okay.
Like literally.
I'll send out
he's
emails
gonna
to you
drag
guys
me.
and I'll let the department heads know so we can
Great.
get it set up once I call her and see their schedule. Okay.
Okay.
Also, I did not get these on the agenda, but I sent them to you because I have them in this folder. These are the bingo, and they're behind, they're
our
not
stuff.
in your little pocket in the front. They're behind your very last memo. Because they got sucked in with the copier and I didn't realize it connected the binders together. Looks like there's 4 Bingham County Planning and Development items that are coming up. The first one is at approximately 1080 East, 1400 North. It's a proposal from Don and Phyllis Hansen to develop a 2-lot short plat subdivision to be known as 2 mule acres on approximately 3.81 acres zoned as R1A, or excuse me, RA. It looks like it's out on Country Club Road, but it's out there toward the Jameson Road.
Just across the road from Heritage Estates out there.
Yeah, so it's a ways out there. So
It's
that's
only
first one.
It's only 2 lots.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah. So if you have any
Okay.
comments on that, that's the first one. The second one is approximately 780 East, 1200 North. It's for Jim and Gretchen Cotterill. So this is very close to the city. Jim and Gretchen Cotterill to construct an accessory structure closer to an existing resident on adjacent parcel than what Bingham County Code section requires. So they're basically asking for a variance.
Did their neighbors give them okay?
Should be,
It's
so
right
they're
there.
asking
It's
for a
right there.
13-foot variance. It doesn't say. Oh, yes, it says existing homeowners on the adjacent lot have consented to the application.
No.
The structure will not have overhead doors or required approval.
I think if they got their neighbors.
And that one you actually have a little drawing.
That's the one that, I mean, if your husband
So
signed
there's
off
not
on
an
it,
approach.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Is it basketball court?
he needs
It's an
another shop.
accessory building.
I know.
Oh,
Just that
accessory
big
like, dude,
one.
cool.
Accessory structure. So
Look at the
probably
size of
shed.
that. Maybe you ought to think about moving again. Go backwards. Go buy some property from your neighbor back there and build it, dude.
Okay, the next one is West River Farms, Brian and Mary Cicero at approximately 475 East Great Western Canal Road, north of 1200 North Baseline Road. Oh, this one's on the back. I bet you guys don't have a map for this one.
Yeah,
Because
you don't
all
want
the
it
other
back.
ones had separate
So
pages.
where is it? That was what I was trying to figure out.
This
This piece right
one,
here.
Get the one up on
Touches the
Cyril
highway.
Hill.
it's, yeah, so it goes,
It's they bought from Allen and Katie.
it's past the Western Road, out there by that one
It's
road
past the
in
Western
town.
Canal, right?
Yeah.
So it's the piece to the north. It's that piece right there, along the freeway.
The one right along the on-ramp. It's got that, it's weird. It runs along the canal.
Did you say 475 east?
No.
Is this,
Yeah.
475
This is
Great
the-
Western. So you know where
the
their
map.
house is, and the canal goes.
That's gonna be out by Park View Trailer Court, way out in the opposite.
no.
It's on this side of I-15.
This side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The canal is right there at their house.
Ron
The
Searle
canal
lives
runs
right
right
here.
around.
Okay.
So that parcel that goes, that's
Oh,
weird
wow.
out to the.
That one, okay.
Does it tell you how many
I thought
acres
they
is
were
on it?
farther
Yes.
out.
Is it
It
22.6
says
acres?
208 acres.
This
208 acres.
Okay, so this is off of West River Road.
Must have been out around, because the last road before the west of it.
The freeway.
RP 30.
Oh,
It tells you RP 03 78 000.
So that's where Ryan's house is, right back there.
03 78 000 is one of them. That's one of the parcels.
Because then you have those 1, 2, 3 houses right there. That,
Yeah, because this is the road.
that's the road front.
No, this is
This
this is the
different.
property that he bought across the street from him from Allen and Katie Searle.
Okay. That's it, because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 RPs.
Yeah, so this is across the street from where Brian lives. They
So
bought from,
yeah, because that was just recently surveyed.
yeah,
You're right.
he bought it from Allen and Katie Searle. Well, half of it from Allen and Katie, and I think Ron Cyril owns half of it too, or something, or I don't know.
So that puts that piece right there.
So he wants to develop it.
Just west of.
It's gotta be like Aubrey.
So when you come across the river, it's that piece.
Yeah.
It's all the way back to that piece right here. Right?
That piece is right there.
This is what was.
Was.
Yeah,
So it's that one across from here.
I don't disagree.
You know, the problem.
This
that
is
urban
what the
sprawl
county-
thing, right?
Yeah, the
This
county's
is the
not supposed to
problem
be
we're
doing this to
having,
us.
you know. And I talked to the county commissioners about this. I talked to Mark about this at length. And that is that, you know, we've got to stop the urban sprawl. I mean, we're eating up farm ground, and the problem is they're not improving the roadways for all these homes.
Well, and
I mean,
they're less than a mile from the sewer plant, but they're on the other side of the river.
if we would have bought the sewer plant would have 110 homes today.
Oh, I know.
And this would have 100 and something homes.
Right.
I know.
And this would have 100. You know, I mean, you just go on and on. You know, if the village of Woodville wouldn't have had two members that wouldn't have given them water, they'd have had quarter-acre lots on that 93 acres that the dentist Carpenter wanted to buy a couple of years ago and develop. The problem with that kind of development is nobody's improving the roads. Nobody's doing a study and engineering roads. We're looking at development like up in Rigby that's going to surround this town, and we've got to, you know, as a city, we have gone and created a new ordinance to allow these kind of acreage home sites so they can be in the city. And that's what I was trying to tell the county commissioners. We have done our job as a city to provide this type of product, but you have got to push it. And the way you gotta do, you gotta change your zoning ordinance. I mean, that's Bonneville County does it. That's why they require 10 acres. How many 10-acre homes do you see around Bonneville County? Not very many.
Not very many.
Few, but not many. And so.
Well, Jefferson County did it too, 20 years too late.
In 2008, Jefferson County drew the line at 4200 east, and it killed it. It stopped at that point.
Stop right there.
And so, we have
going
got.
the direction.
And you know, I've talked to landowners. I've talked to farmers. I don't know. I oppose that kind of stuff because I think it's really going to be harmful to our area if we don't have some kind of controlled growth outside of our city boundaries.
So do you guys want comments written on this one then?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
Okay, so what exactly would you like me to put down, just that you're.
I'd like to come meet with them. Yeah, just urban sprawl, you know, where's the engineering for the roads?
And
who's going to
have
improve
they
the roads?
contacted the school district about it?
Well, what's the impact of the
on
roads
Well,
and infrastructure? I mean, you know, it's you put that many homes on that road, and you
that's a
would.
new school that we don't have the money for.
So that
because we're not getting any of the tax dollars for it.
Look at all those new wells, all the new septics that have to go.
The P&Z will be holding a hearing on November 10th, so this is going before the P&Z first.
Well, when are you guys going down and meeting with the county commissioners?
Well, I'm hoping next week.
Okay, because the P&Z will approve it, so.
Not that I'm gonna have any magical numbers. I mean, I just really, I think the public is listening to us. I would like to see farmers, landowners, everybody who wants sensible growth. This room filled up a couple of weeks ago when we had a hearing of something in the city. All I hear on Facebook is, I don't want the town to change. This is changing the town, okay? It's this stuff, and when you talk about changing the town, you're talking about roads not being developed to meet the standard of homes that are coming in. And that's a problem. And like I said, putting septics and wells, punching them all in the hole. I mean, yeah, we live on a kind of a clay base compared up in Rigby, we're on more gravel, but nonetheless, it's just not, to me, it's not sensible growth. That's just my personal opinion. I wish we could get the powers to prevail, but you know, I don't wanna start a fight and just, if we just have a dialogue, have an open discussion, is what I would like to see. So, that's my personal opinion.
Okay, so I will go ahead and send that back down about the urban sprawl and the impact of the roads, study to that. This next one is kind of like that, but it's not anywhere near the city. So there's 3 properties that they're looking for zone changes from agricultural to residential ag. So I'm sure it's for development. First one is 39.4 acres, but this is west of Atomic City, so it's quite a ways away. The second one is
The jackrabbits.
yeah, 11.24 acres. This is in the Kimball area down by Firth. The last one is 6.7 acres and it's in Blackwood.
Yeah.
So did you have any comments on that one? Okay.
No.
Okay, so I'll just send those back down. The next thing I have, I talked to Teresa McKnight of Ready, and she will be here at the next council meeting to go over Ready
That's
and
good.
the accomplishments and where they're at on that.
Is she gonna be first or is she gonna be after the big public hearing?
She was gonna have to be after.
Okay, so you tell her to come late.
Yeah, I already told her, I said, you can probably come around 8:15 maybe, it's like, cause we've got a hearing before that.
Right, okay.
So I did tell her. The last thing I have, I just have to let you know what a good job Maureen is doing. She is the most sweetest, nicest person to some of the nastiest people that come in for DMV. I mean, she can sit there and just be so nice to someone who some of us would lose our temper with. So I just want to give her an attaboy on her demeanor with the public, her customer service. She'll sit there and take a lot from them. And I said, you don't have to take them treating you bad. If they're knocking our customer service very politely, and I told them this very politely to say, you know what? I'm really sorry, but if you don't like our customer service, there are other agencies. You can do it nice. You don't have to sit there for half an hour. So anyway, I just want to give her kudos. She's doing great. And she's been here almost a year.
Tell her the shade thing pulls this way. Just drop.
There we go. So anyway, that's all.
All right, thank you. Michael?
Everything's going pretty good. I got flag football sign-ups ending this week, so I'm getting all those kids entered and everything.
Flag football or
Junior
jazz?
jazz.
Junior jazz basketball is going, and then I've already got with the school, so I have everything going there. I'm just getting everything going on that.
Okay.
So everything's going good.
All right. Building inspector, you got anything for us?
No, things are going good on my end. Nothing too crazy right now.
Okay.
Trying to keep everyone happy.
All right, Dave, Reader's Digest, please.
So I'm not on the agenda specifically to talk about the First Street, but I have prepared a letter kind of summarizing the results of the bid for First Street, which we opened yesterday. And so I'd like you to, I'm going to kind of give you a summary. I'd like you to look at it. We are going to need a agenda item and a meeting at some point soon.
So what I was thinking, because I didn't think this was going to be ready for tonight. Last Friday, knew he was opening bids, yesterday, but I think it'd be prepared for tonight. And so with a 5-day notice, we could actually have a hearing just to go ahead and award the bids as soon as Monday, if that's soon enough.
We can award whenever you're ready to award. As you may recall that we learned during the tank project is I have 10 days after we open the bid to inform the bidders of what our intentions are. That's not to award, it's just to inform them. And it is my intention, unless I'm instructed otherwise, to inform them that we will be considering the lowest bid as responsive and for considered for award.
Let's just have let's have a quick meeting Monday or do a Zoom meeting or something, just so we are done to move forward.
Okay,
Can you
and
guys?
that's totally fine. So a couple of things that are probably helpful for you to understand is you did get 3 bids. The lowest bid, which is the bid from HK Contractors, we evaluated the bid administratively. Everything is there in the bid. There's nothing to throw them out of the bid. We We did notice a significant discrepancy between the HK bids and the next two bids. However, I can say that the discrepancy, there's 3 bid items that really kind of stood out, and that is mobilization. For example, A plus contractor was over $120,000 for mobilization, where HK was less than $40,000. The next big one was the piping. HK's piping price was $155, and both of the other two's piping prices were over $200, and in one case, well over $200. And the third item was, hang on, I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. The asphalt replacement. HK's asphalt replacement was a lot less than the other two. So those were the 3 things that really made up the difference in the bid. The bid is broken into 2 pieces. There's the base bid. The base bid is all the stuff we know about, right? Yep. It's our best guess. The alternate bid items are things that we don't know about because we didn't riff the road up to check. For example, on storm drain piping, we know that we are crossing storm drain piping. However, what we don't know is when we try to dig under the storm drain, is it so rusty that it's just going to fall in and has to be replaced, or those kinds of things. So I provided a little narrative of those items, but the alternative bid items is really what I would consider our contingency. It's the money that we should budget to pay for things that might happen that we hope don't happen.
And if they don't happen, we don't pay for it.
That's correct.
They have to have it documented.
That is right. Okay. So if we don't have to replace the storm drains for the sidewalks or the mailboxes, for example, then we don't pay for those things. Okay. So that grand total is $968,000 and some change. However, in the very last section, what I've put together is just a recommendation that on a project of this size, I would recommend that you consider having a full-time inspector and engineering support for the construction. What that looks like is a full-time inspector is usually a inspection level person on site every day that they're working. And that person is observing the installation, it's observing to make sure they get the grades right, get the backfill right, get everything pushed together right, observe testing, when they do pressure testing, for example, at the end. It's basically all the things that Justin could be doing if he had time to do it. But we're talking about $1 million project that's going to last you for the next 75 to 100 years. And so I think that's a good recommendation for you to consider having a full-time inspector. The reason we're having this discussion is because you're paying for it not with one of the government funding programs. If we were talking about one of the funding programs, this wouldn't be an option. In addition to an inspector, there's usually a little bit of time for support, like reviewing submittals or dealing with questions that the contractor has when it comes up. Questions like, what do I do with the storm drain pipe? Because I don't know if it's bad enough I have to replace it or not. Those are the kinds of questions that you get. And then project staking, which is the surveyor comes in and stakes it. I've kind of taken a look at that, and I've given you kind of an estimate. However, what I'm offering or suggesting is that that's all time and material work for me. I'm not asking for a lump sum that says just do this. And so if the contractor finishes early, we are done early. So I'm not suggesting that $90,000, which is what it all adds up to, is some cost. I'm just saying that's a likely estimate of what it would take if the contractor took the full 120 days to build it. So based on that, what you may want to consider is the total project cost is $1,058,000. And I've got those two bulleted items there for your consideration.
How long do you anticipate them to be able to do this realistically?
So in the contract, we have 120 days for them to get it in, and then another 30 days on top of that for them to finish it up. However, in my estimate, I only put 85 actual working days for an inspector, and until they get it all in, and then 15 days for to verify the, punch list, all the cleanup stuff and that kind of stuff. So I don't expect they're going to take all that time. I think that they should probably take quite a bit less than that. I think that one of the things that you got to consider is there's submittals. That happens at they're going to want to get all their submittals in before they're doing any work out here at all. And obviously, you don't need to have a inspector stand out here while you've got an engineer doing shotguns, right? So there's some overlap there. I took my best guess at it and said there's probably not more than 100 days of actual work out here, and it is very possible it's less. I mean, we're really talking about 2,600 feet straight shot from one end to the other.
No, those numbers, these numbers that he has, that's the napkin that Justin and Dave did. And we've talked about the whole project, so it's coming in almost exactly what I thought it would be.
I feel like if we're gonna spend $1 million, we need an inspector out there.
Yeah, we want it done so that it lasts 75 to 100 years. We don't want to have them have to dig it up in the spring and fix something. No way. Whether that's them or get somebody else to do it, whatever. But yeah, I agree.
Okay. All right. So, do you guys want to have a quick meeting, Zoom meeting, something Monday?
Yep.
What time would you like? Like 10 o'clock, 1, do you want morning or afternoon?
Everybody look at their calendar. Just put numbers together.
It's the first.
It's the first Halloween.
Total shock.
Oh, let's see. I got.
How much it costs the first foot?
Jeff should have went in the construction business.
We're doing it. If we do it on Zoom, it doesn't matter. I've just got them taken out for me. So, but I don't know what time yet. So, but they can be doing that while I'm talking on.
When you're there. So do you want to do it by Zoom, say at 10 in the morning?
Works for me.
Works for me.
10?
Let's say it.
All right, let's do it. 10. Dave?
Zoom at 10.
I have some meetings on Monday, but
you don't need to be on there.
Yeah,
as long as we approve it, then we can send it to you and you can go.
Yeah, I mean, unless you have more questions.
Nope, we don't. Well, at this point, I don't.
So you just need the information of the motion who they made to award the bid to, right?
That is correct.
All right.
And then I'll just wait until then to send out I think I have till Wednesday to send it over.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Dave. Justin.
The crew's been working on wall cleanup. We've got the east side of town done minus some leaves that people have been putting out, which is every year. We'll chase leaves for the next month. So,
Jeff Kelly's something.
We'll still be.
No, I'll take it to the dump. Don't worry about it. Don't stop on it.
We'll work on them, but we do it every year. So, with the rain and stuff, it's kind of put us off on fall cleanup a few days. It's also put us off on the trail. We've got probably maybe 2 days left on the trail if we can get some decent weather and get all the mud to dry up so we can go back and fix all the ruts. And so anyways, we'll be working on that. Sprinklers are all blown out throughout the parks, minus the fountain and the trail. So pool's been winterized, what we did. Mike's helped us with that and stuff. So H&K come in last week and finished our asphalt work on Aspen, the hole on Byron, and then a couple little patches for us. Hole on Byron, a couple of the holes turned out pretty rough, so they're going to come back and do a little bit more work on them to make them smooth. So
Aspen is great.
Aspen turned out really nice.
Man, I'm telling you, that is about it. I'm excited about that as I drive it out.
With the second storm, with the second French drain in there, I noticed with the rain the last 2 days, nothing backed up. Everything went. So that's awesome. Like that is a big improvement.
Yeah, what's huge.
So I'm very happy with that. Other than that, things are going good. I do appreciate you letting me hire John. He's excited to come back. My team's I'm hoping he'll stay for a while. I think we're good.
Okay,
No, other than that, I appreciate the time.
all right, thank you. Chief?
I don't have anything really right now. I do have a couple reminders, if you guys can put it out on your social media outlets. Thursday, they are doing a trunk or treat at Sunrise, and that will be from 5:30 to 7. I will have my SRO and another car there, and then Randy and I are doing the trunk or treat thing we do every year at the fire station. We're going to do that on Saturday from start about 5:30 and go to